Two heavyweights of European competition met up in a group game that would see the Netherlands the happier of the two teams. Despite dominating the game, France could not find a goal easy to come by in this matchup. France were very fluid in their build-up, with the players rotating positions, but usually kept 3 players behind the ball. This was usually a combination of the fullbacks pushing up the pitch to take wide positions, and in which case either Tchouaméni or Kante would drop back to fill the space, or one of the fullbacks, often Hernandez, advancing and Koundé staying behind the ball. In this clip, Koundé is on the ball with Hernandez advanced down the other side, and Kante is playing between the lines. Dembele's movement on the right forces Gakpo to cover the angle, and this allows the other defender to find Kante with a pass into the half space and allow France to have controlled possession in the final third. In possession, France looked something like this, and rotations into the half spaces were a key feature of France's tactics in possession. Dembele could move wider and the fullback move into the half space with Kante, or when the fullback moved wider and took up a position on the touchline, particularly on the right where France had the most attacks, was the trigger for Dembele to move into the half space. So instead of being on the same line, his movement opened up another passing angle. France's rotations at the back allowed them to open up passing channels through the Netherlands midfield. By splitting the centre-backs, they opened up the Dutch midfield. France's aim was to move the ball into the half spaces, where they would have access to the winger for a one-on-one situation. Here, the Dutch attacker is covering a pass into the half space, but Rabiot has dropped between the lines, which forces the Dutch attacker to press. Rabiot's position is now the perfect angle to receive the ball and pass to Kante in the half space. His clever dummy and combination with Griezmann sees France hit the back line. With Rabiot and Kante occupying the half spaces and Tchouaméni dropping into the back line and the two fullbacks pushed up, France's formation resembled a 3-4-3. The two players in the half spaces helping to create these combination triangles out wide. So these combinations were key to France reaching the byline and getting crosses into the box. This was especially effective on the right. When the winger moves infield, dragging the defender with him, it opens up space on the outside, and the fullback is in support, offering another option. Dembele moves infield and Kante moves from his position in the half space outside to get into a dangerous position. The cross comes in from the supporting Koundé this time though. 34% of play was played out in the Netherlands' third in this game, and they did this by making good use of the fullbacks, who were positioned very high and wide. While the Netherlands were defending the centre of the pitch in a 4-3-3 formation, France moved their midfielders into the opposition backline, essentially creating a 2-3-5. And because the fullbacks were very wide, the centre-backs still had a passing angle to them, despite being outnumbered. To cover the spaces at the back, Frimpong moved to the right back position and the Netherlands formation morphed into a 5-4-1. This is where, with clever movement, France created their triangles as Dembele dropped back and Kante took up the wide spaces. Here, although the Netherlands have a backline of 6, there is still space out wide for Dembele to receive. Attracting the attention of 2 defenders, this is the trigger for the right back Koundé to move into space behind their defence. We think that it is Griezmann's role to get between the midfield and the defensive lines, but it was actually Kante that caused the most destruction. Moving into the spaces and running at the defence allowed Griezmann to take up more advanced positions, as he often formed a front 2 or 3 with Thuram and Dembele. Because of the width of the fullbacks, there was no room initially for Griezmann in the midfield. Rabiot and Kante were joined by Dembele in the half space, and this constantly saw a passage out for the defender against the Dutch 3-man press. With a 3 versus 3 in the midfield though, there were times when Griezmann dropped back to make a 4 versus 3. This ensured that the likes of Tchouaméni always had an option, either into the half space or out wide, and then France were instantly able to hit the opposition fullback. Out of possession, France sat in a mid-block 4-4-2. That was also often a 4-4-1-1. with Griezmann dropping back a little to pick up the pivot in the Netherlands' 2-3-2-3 build-up shape. France were happy to defend the middle third and this allowed a centre-back to progress the ball, but they struggled to control the ball though, having just 37% possession. In this formation, and with limited movement, France's two central midfielders picked up the number 8s, and the two centre-backs picked up Depay. This cut out many of the forward passing options for the free player. Tchouaméni and Kante were disciplined at cutting out angles to the number 8s in the half spaces. It would have been the Netherlands' tactic to get the wide players Frimpong and Gakpo on the ball, but France's discipline in their 4-4-2 block didn't allow this. With the fullback tight on the winger and the France winger pressing the player with the ball, and the number 8 covered by the centre mid, there was no time or space to get behind France's defence. There was some joy for the Dutch when space between France's defence and midfield grew, and allowed a number 8 to get in and find a passing angle out wide. Although when the 8 moved into France's defensive line, he was tracked by Kante or Tchouaméni, while the fullback coped with the winger. In the second half, the combinations and use of the half spaces created one of the best chances of the game. With France's fluid rotations, they created an overload in the half space, and this forces Van Dijk to leave his position, and a gap in the defence opens up for Dembele to run into, creating a chance for Thuram and Griezmann. But this was not to be France's day.